Welcome back, Pete's. On this video, I'm going to discuss some games that I missed the boat on. We all know that pain, guys, where you see a game and you think,
it will be mine.
I like a bit of that. And then you gradually see the price creep up until it feels like it's out of your price bracket. I'm going to start with the games that are less of a gripe, and then gradually get to those last few games where I'm really like, yeah, I remember when that was significantly less. The first game I'll mention is Ghost in a Shell. Ghost in a Shell was always an expensive game, and it's just kept on creeping up. The one guy I do know who has a copy of this is Donald Mackerel. Funnily enough, I've got a copy of the Japanese version, which is really nice to be fair, but I can't play it. So just for context, under some circumstances, I'll track prices sometimes. So I've got my original note for CEX as being 110. Then it went down to 95. Then in May 2024, it went down to 88. October 24 went up to 98. And then October 25, and now it is 140. So it's funny because it did dip a bit, but then it's gone up. And I can't see it coming down, really. I think it'll only go up. The next game, this is a little bit more annoying because I really like this game and I'd love to have a copy. So my original note for this game is it was 80 in CEX, and it went to 120, then to 140, and it's sitting at 140 now. Well, I've got a note that the average price for this on eBay was 50, and I think that's accurate. The annoying thing about Cooler World is I saw a price on eBay around the 50, 60 mark earlier this year, I think it was. It wasn't that long ago. And it was without manual, and I really wish I would have bought that. But it's just one of them where you just think, oh, I'll wait for a copy with the manual, and then afterwards you just think, no, that was actually a really good deal I should have grabbed. So that's annoying. Next on the list is Lomax. That's one of those games that I feel like when I first clocked it, I just thought that looks really cool, and I think I've got the average eBay price down here as £50. CEX, I've got it as 110. Then it went down to 95, then it went down to 88. Then it went up to 110, and now it's at 110. But yeah, like I say, it's just one of those games that I noticed and I thought, that looks really cool. They've like kind of like taken the Lemons IP, if you like, and then put it into a platform, and it just looks really cool. But yeah, I remember when that game was like 45, 50 quid, and like now it's 110 in CEX. And obviously because of the way the retro market's gone, it's just like, if CEX says it's 110, it's like everyone is going to be asking like 100 quid for it or more. The next game, this game has like eluded me for ages, is Pandemonium 2. Now, I remember picking up a copy of this at a market for a tenner and selling it, because at the time, my PS1 list was a lot more stripped down. So I'd just be like, oh, I want the original Pandemonium, not bothered about the sequel. Obviously now I really want the sequel. I also remember seeing a copy on eBay like a couple years ago now, probably, but it still plays on my mind. A copy on eBay that was apparently like new, and it was 15, and I should have grabbed it because that would be done. That would be nothing. Don't need to think anymore about that. But now I've got notes of it being 25 in CEX, and I assume that's the current price. 25, yeah, but that's just one of those games that I'm always looking for. And I tell you what, I look at the markets a lot, and you rarely see it. And if you do see it, it's obviously knackered, and you pass it up. But I just want a nice condition copy of it. I hope it doesn't go up anymore. I wouldn't be surprised if it did though. This next one isn't the worst. This next one's like Twisted Metal World Tour, so Twisted Metal 2. The average price on that used to be around the 50 mark. CEX increased it to 60, then they increased it to 88. Which is a lot for that game. And then they took it down to 82, and then they took it down to 68. I'll just take a look at what it is now, 68. So it's a lot of money, but considering my original note was it was around the 50 mark, it's not like a crazy increase. And that is the kind of game that I do really want to get, because I think it'll go up. It's like the kind of game, if I saw it in CEX and it was in good nick, I'd buy it straight away because I've got vouchers. And I have seen it in Wrexham manual only, but the disc was just you know, scratched. I was just like, nah, you're right. So I'll wait on that one. But I think it's the kind of game where it's about 68 in CEX, but if you saw it at a market, I bet they'd be asking like 100 for it. Now these like last three are a lot more like annoying. So the first one is Twisted Metal 1 in the big box. So my original note on that is like it was around 45 pounds. And I remember that, and then it just really quickly shot up in CEX, and then everyone was asking like loads more for it. So it went up to 80. Then in May 24, it went to 125, and I got a note that in October 25, it was 115. Let me just check what it is now. It's 115. So it's like, when I look at that, all I see is it's like over double what it was when I originally like looked at it and thought, oh, that's quite an expensive PS2 game, like 45 quid. And now it's like £100 everywhere you see it. I remember seeing a copy at a market again that was, I think it was without the manual. So I think it was disc only. And I think the only reason I passed it up was because it wasn't in great condition, but it wasn't a bad deal. I think it was like, this is going back a while, but I think it was like 40, 50. Maybe I should have grabbed it, but like I said, it was one of them where I looked at the condition and wasn't overly enthused, so I left it. But yeah, that's going to be a hard one to find. I think with a lot of these games, it's like boot sale is probably the only place you're going to find it like cheap. Finding it at like a market or stuff, it's going to be expensive. CEX might be a shout, but I think a lot of these games, you know, they sell pretty quick, to be fair. A lot of people are after them, so. The second game, again, I really remember seeing this. This is Project Overkill. I've got a note of this being £20 in CEX. And I remember that was when I first clocked it, and I thought, that looks really cool, £20. I thought, sound. And then it just shot up. So I got a note of it being £32 in CEX in the May of 24. And then October 24, it was 40. And then October 25, it was 68. If I look now, it's 68. So yeah, it's like that game's like over tripled in price, like really quickly. It's strange. It's like you see a game like that and you think, oh, that looks really like obscure and it's quite cheap. And then someone else is obviously thinking that as well. And they're just like, yeah, that should be way more. Yeah, I just think that game was cool. It really reminds me of Loaded, which I'm a big fan of. But in terms of getting it now, yeah, you're gonna be paying quite a bit for it. Then the last one, there's a bit more of a story with this. So this one's Overblood. This was a game that you could sort of make a few quid on back in the day. So I had it as like average price on eBay was like 25, and at the time it was 15 in CEX. Then it went up to 20. Then it went up to 28, and then in October 25, I've got it down as being £48, which is where it sits at the minute. And the story with that one is I picked up a copy of Overblood 1 and 2 from CEX, I think it was. Or the first one definitely was. For like 15, and I sold it because I wasn't happy with the condition. It was like, I think the disc was a bit scratched, and I think the manual was ripped. But obviously when I sold it, I was thinking like, oh, I'll get another copy. And then just after I'd sold it, the prices just suddenly shot up. And I was just like, why the fuck have they just shot up? And now it's like, okay, well, I want a copy, but instead of being £15 in CEX, it's 48. So it's, you know, it's over double, quite a bit over double. So that's annoying. I don't know why, but Overblood 2 isn't as expensive. I feel like it did spike, but like when I look at it now, it's 22. And I think when I bought it, it was like, you know, 15, 20. So that one's like, you know, you can get that. And I do need to pick that up because it'll probably just go up in price. But that first one, I don't know why that one shot up to 48, but it's just annoying. So if I would have kept that copy I had, and bear in mind, it didn't like fly off the shelf. I just stuck it on eBay for like 20 quid or something, and it sat there for a couple of weeks and then someone bought it. But if I would have just waited a bit longer on that, I would have seen that price go up and I would have thought, oh, I've had a good deal there. I don't know if anyone else can relate to this, but I just very much find that there are those games from a few years ago that you've seen and you've been like, oh, I'm going to grab that. And then you see the price and you're like, wait there, it's double what it used to be. And you kind of feel like it's a bit like, oh, I'm going to struggle to get that at a price that feels reasonable. Because obviously when you've seen it at a certain price, you sort of think, well, that's kind of what it's worth. But when it's like double, triple, you're like, no, that's just taking the mick now. But anyway, like I say, hopefully someone can relate to that. If anyone's got any of their own stories like that where they've had a game in their crosshairs and then it's just skyrocketed, love to hear it. But anyway, that's it from me. And we'll see you on the next one.